Dear Mr. Chairman, dear ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to share with you some thoughts about the recent judgment of the European Court of Human Rights in the case of Maria Alokhina and others versus Russia. Just a few days ago, the European Court of Human Rights rejected the appeal of the Russian government and refused to transfer the case to the Grand Chamber, where the court could have reconsidered its position to bring it in harmony with its own case law in this category of cases. The judgment is now final. However, we can still look at it from the perspective of today's topic, mainly finding the way to reconcile two of the rights guaranteed by the Convention. For those of you who are unaware of the fabula of the case, I will shortly present the main facts. The applicants are Russian nationals, members of the Russian feministic punk band Pussy Riot, who gave performances of their song in various public areas, dressed in brightly colored balaclavas and dresses. On 21st February 2012, following a series of performances in Moscow, they attempted to perform one of their songs from the altar of Moscow's Christ the Savior Cathedral. No service was taking place, but some believers were inside the cathedral, including journalists and the media invited by the band for publicity. The performance lasted slightly over a minute because cathedral guards quickly forced the band out. The band uploaded video footage of their attempted performance to their website and to YouTube. It was seen 1.5 million times in the following 10 days. The applicants were arrested shortly after the performance for, quote, hooliganism motivated by religious hearted, end of quote, and remanded in custody essentially on account of the gravity of the charges against them. The trial court found that their actions had been offensive and insulting for the Orthodox faithful, referring to their brightly colored clothes and balaclavas, their waving their arms and kicking their legs around, and their obscene language in the main cathedral of the Russian Orthodox Church. The court rejected the applicants' arguments that their performance had been politically and not religiously motivated. All their appeals against the decision were unsuccessful. They were sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, subsequently reduced by 1 month. The applicants made numerous complaints before the European Court of Human Rights under Article 3, Article 6, Paragraph 1, Article 5, and lastly, under Article 10, Freedom of Expression, they complained about their detention and conviction, alleging that those measures had been excessively in relation to their conduct. The court found violation of multiple instances, in particular, violation of the applicants' rights guaranteed by Article 10. The court accepted that a reaction to breaching the rules of conduct in a place of religious worship might have been warranted. However, it found that sentencing them to imprisonment had been exceptionally severe. As in most of the admissible cases that come to the European Court of Human Rights, in this application it was important for the judges to identify the limits to which two of the guaranteed rights, the freedom of expression and freedom of religion, can intervene into the sphere of each other. It should be noted that countries enjoy a relatively wide margin of appreciation in this area. In many countries, while trying to protect believers from too aggressive behavior of those who want to enjoy their freedom of expression, legislation had introduced an administrative offense or even a crime, blasphemy. In terms of law, the object of criminal offense of blasphemy is not God at all, even though this is what we often hear from those who oppose the criminal persecution of blasphemous actions. Indeed, God cannot be outraged or humiliated. But actually, the objects of the criminal offense in such situations are people, faithful, their rights, freedoms, and legitimate interests, their human dignity and religious feelings. It is also public interest connected with the need of protection of personal dignity of believers, including public interest in the field of the public safety and social order in general. Thus, the specified objects which are exposed to a legal offense act here as the objects of such offense indirectly, implicitly. And this significantly complicates the task of forensic experts when carrying out examination in such cases. It is therefore necessary to address to the question what exactly, in terms of law, is the object of illegal offense or extremist crimes in this group of cases. The analysis of the standards incorporated in the Russian and foreign criminal anti-extremist legislation, as well as legal precedents based on such norms, gives reasons to identify the following groups of objects. Firstly, images of persons in respect of which believers carry out religious worship or religious honoring. Secondly, the main religious symbols, religious texts. The fourth, reputational images of the religion in general, objectified images and icons honored by believers, religiously honored or respected by believers' material objects, and finally, religious order. At least two positions from this list were obviously triggered in Pussy Riot case. In this sense, a test had been prepared consisting of 6 parts in order to identify a threshold that makes it possible to establish adequately what types of expressions constitute criminal offense. They are the context, the speaker, the speaker's intention, the content and form of the speech act, its scope and magnitude, and the possibility of damage occurring as well as it is imminent. If we apply this test to the present case, we would see that the Pussy Riot actions were obviously unlawful. It was therefore lawful for the state to intervene and to protect the rights of the faithful. However, the question I want to put here today is more general. Do the faithful have to accept the possibility of the unwanted intervention into their churches by someone who wants to express their views inside the church? Does Article 10 protect the invasion of churches and other religious buildings and property? My answer to this question is definitely no. I'm sure that Christians have the right to worship freely without fear of obscene, hostile, or even violent protest taking place within the church. Freedom of expression allows for political criticism but does not protect, as stated in paragraph 177 of Alokhina judgment, quote, expressions that are gratuitously offensive to others and thus an infringement of their rights and which therefore do not contribute to any form of public debate capable of furthering process of human affairs, end of quote. As one of the European Court judges said in his dissenting opinion, quote, the state has a positive obligation to protect believers' freedom of assembly, namely but by ensuring that they and their places of worship are fully respected by state and non-state actors, and when attacks against them occur, to investigate and to punish them, end of quote. Article 10 of the Convention does not protect a right to insult or to humiliate individuals. Freedom of expression does not protect deliberate slander or a discourse with the aim of provoking discrimination. Thus, the applicant's conduct in this case goes far beyond the scope of Article 10. Even though the court stated in its judgment that, quote, in the concrete case the criminal conviction and prison sentence imposed were not proportionate to the legitimate aim pursued, end of quote, this is not a reason to consider that the applicant's conduct traverses protection under Article 10 at all. In this, I fully agree with the European Court of Human Rights judge from Spain, Elosegui, who stated in her dissenting opinion to Alokhina judgment that there was no violation of applicants' rights guaranteed by Article 10 of the Convention, as Article 10 does not protect conduct consisting of invading churches and other religious buildings or property for political purposes, nor does it protect conduct comprising intimidation and hostility against Christian Orthodox believers. Thank you for your attention.